These are people who no one, after a period of time, has claimed them. And not just COVID victims, but victims of all diseases, all reasons for fatality.
My name's Melinda Hunt, and I am the founding director of the Hart Island Project, which is a public charity that assists people in getting information about burials on Hart Island. There's over 1 million people buried there, and it's out in the Long Island Sound. New York City, soon after the Civil War, adopted a system of burials that was developed for the Union Army to quickly bury soldiers on battlefields. And this burial process allows for later disinterment. But in New York City, it allows the city to quickly bury unclaimed bodies. Unclaimed just means that a funeral director was not hired to pick up the body, or if the families can't afford a funeral director, then all of those burials are now going to Hart Island. The Department of Correction has transferred jurisdiction to Parks, which has now hired contractors to bury all of the bodies due to COVID-19. The correction officers are still overseeing the burials because they're the ones that up until now have been used to conducting these burials. So there's no more inmate labor on Hart Island. I don't see there's any reason to look at this as a dark place. It's really a wide open natural landscape full of deer and birds, and it's out in the Long Island Sound. It's a really beautiful, peaceful location. It's a very sacred place to New Yorkers. The system of burials is there's 150 bodies that are placed in a grid within a plot. And I know that sounds dark, but it's actually a much better than individual burials, because within that grid, it's very, very secure. And they are able to go in and get individual bodies out due to the layout. But New York City has done this before. The 1918 flu epidemic, there were thousands of burials that year, and even still, New York City did not run out of burial space. So this is a very efficient and well-organized system of burials that people should not fear. It's such a terrible time that people cannot, be with their relatives at the end of life and say goodbye. And there's so much tragedy. But this is the one thing where people should not fear what the city is doing. This system of burials has been used in several epidemics, and it works quite well. And one of the bills that was passed in December will provide for probably passenger ferry service, and people will be able to go to grave sites because those will be known where every single body is. The city will be able to account for what happened to the body of your friend or relative who died in this pandemic.